Kim. I hear you have my favorite topic about hacking. And this one's a little more interesting. Hacking back?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there was a recent article that was published about cybersecurity veterans that are against the hackback policies that the government has introduced. So in the wake of all of the different ransomware attacks that have been happening, Colonial Pipeline, all of the different businesses that have been attacked by adversaries or cyber adversaries, they introduced a bill, Congress introduced a bill on June 30th, whereas they would allow private sector companies to, or private companies rather, I'm sorry, private companies to hack back, or their teams or the cybersecurity professionals in their organizations to hack back. But this has been like a whole back and forth thing with that it's dangerous to do that, especially with cyber attribution when you're trying to narrow down who attacked you, where who's covering their tracks or whatever it may be. And so many think that it's dangerous. So this article is interesting because I wrote along with James Parrish, James Smith, and um, Timothy Ellis, or Dr. James Parrish. He was my dissertation chair. So I wrote along with them a academic paper about the same thing. So whereas we're looking at the vice or vice and virtue theory, where is it a vice that they have, that these red teamers are offensive security engineers that actually it's their job to attack in the government realm? And so when companies hire these offensive security engineers, do they have to abide by the policies of the company to say, oh, you can't do this, do this, whatever? But if you're in the government or the military working on with the NSA or Cyber Command, you're allowed to, attack. That is your job. But private companies cannot do that. So a bill was introduced a few years ago that would allow private companies to actually hack back. And so it's just been back and forth in litigation, I guess, rather, with the government or whatever. And so while the government agencies like NSA, they're responsible for defending the government, but who's responsible for defending these small companies? And so, so with cyber attribution, so when you're, trying to track down the adversary, going through all of the different chains of, how they got into your system, all those things, but how do you exactly know sometimes if that is, if they say who they are, and if you actually hack back or gain access to their network space, then you're breaking the law per the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Yeah. So it's just, and I just wanted to see what your take is on it, you and Chris. What do you think about hacking back?
I think that just before you ever do anything, hacking back or even just like anything, you start on a new project, you really have to think about like, what are you trying to accomplish? What is it that you're trying to achieve by hacking back? And are you hacking back in the sense of, you might be using an offensive technique, like an exploit, in order to prevent the adversary from entering your systems? So, or are you actually trying to get into the adversary systems the same way that they're trying to get into yours and do something like, let's say you hack into a ransomware gang's computer, you're going to try to hold them for ransom too.
Right.
you know, like, so to what end or what is the purpose and who has responsibility for what? Is it like a private citizen's responsibility to try to do something like that, like go and go after a ransomware gang and like encrypt all of their computers so they can stop doing their ransomware attacks? Maybe. I don't know that, I feel like it's dangerous just to let anyone carte blanche do anything in those regards. They may choose to do it or not, but I feel like that might be dangerous. But maybe allowing certain offensive techniques to be utilized to prevent attacks on your own network or on your own company, I feel like there you have a better reason or a better rationale or a better standing. It's just my thoughts and opinions, of course. But if you have something that you're doing to protect yourself, to me it makes sense. But if you're doing something to, hurt somebody else or like affect somebody else, then it's a lot more questionable to me. And I think for that you need just more like guidance and rules of the road. Like we don't let anyone drive any way they want on the road. There are certain things they have to do, like stay on the right side of the road or stop for a red light. And everyone knows these rules. And there's like a license, you have to get, and you get insurance to drive a car. There's certain things you have to do in order to do something that like affects society as a whole. So to me, again, it depends on the purpose, and really we have to be careful as a society, as a world, to just say, anyone can do anything they want. There probably have to be some like safeguards, and there have to be some kind of like rules of the road. I could see why governments may need to do that, or why governments may need to say like, oh, we are going to do that. We're going to hack back.
So the paper that we wrote was more to the dichotomy, like these offensive security engineers, whereas a lot of these companies or even the government, they hire these offensive secure red teamers that have this experience of hacking. But they have this dichotomy as to, oh, I want to hack back, but it'll be against the policies if they're in these private organizations, right? So yeah, they should have certain rules and in order. I know when I was on a penetration testing team for the military, yeah, we had our get out of jail free card. Whereas, okay, this was our job. We knew what we could and could not touch. This is what this is the IP network. This blah blah blah. This is what you can and cannot do. But yeah, that's part of your job. But then you have some. So not too long ago, and this is how I got the idea of the paper, was that this individual in a private company, he lost his job because he hacked back, right? So he lost his job for returning the hack back to who hacked his company. Yeah. So yeah, so that is interesting.
Yeah, I think it.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it lands in kind of this gray area, and I can probably make an argument for both sides. like I guess for a small example, if an adversary steals like company data and you have a beacon or a canary in the data that kind of sends back the location of where the stolen data might be, and you kind of provide that to authorities, is that considered hacking back? I'm not too sure, but then there's also the scenario where a private citizen may try to hack back and compromise, and they think they know where the attack originated from, and it could just be from a bot in a botnet. So you're just kind of compromising just a bot owned by just a regular person who did nothing really wrong besides his computer or mobile device was compromised in a botnet.
Right. So yeah, I want to reiterate something. So I might have misspoke on my two bills that I talked about, but I might have said the wrong thing. But so the bill that was introduced on the 30th, not sure if I said it, the bill that was introduced on the 30th of June was to require the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to research or study the risks of the benefits of allowing hackers, companies to take action against hackers or the hackback. But the actual bill that was, proposed a few years ago, the Active Cyber Defense Certainty Act, gives individuals and companies the legal authority to take action or to hack back. So I just wanted to make that clarification.
I think philosophically we're still correct.
Okay. But I thought it was interesting. I was like, oh, okay, I just wrote a paper it had published last year about this same thing. So I thought it was interesting.
I agree. I feel like this is a very interesting topic, and definitely interesting debate could be had either way about this
Right.
topic.
Right.
The only thing I know for sure, though, is this is the other part of the debate. While we debate, and think about like what's right, what's wrong, what's allowed, what's not allowed, I know that there are definitely some adversaries who never have to think about that, and they just do whatever
Exactly. Yeah, they're just doing whatever. All of the state actors, yeah, they don't worry about those things.
And I think that's where I guess there's something to. I guess as the debate goes on, that's another thing to consider about this topic.
Right. And so to that point is that so the study that I did, I had I found that the majority of the offensive security engineers were for the hackback, that they should be able to. But then you also had where that dichotomy existed as well, where they were on the fence or the borderline, like, okay, well, I agree, they were neutral, right? So they were on the fence about it. So yeah.
I think at the end of the day, for private citizens, probably the most important question is, to what end or what is the purpose of the hackback?